people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all, and with your wings entwining, you better face the fall and keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know, and keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all with your wings entwining. You better face the fall. Zero. Everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure. Forever young, or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all, and if your wings entwining, you better face the fall.
Hello and welcome to the Great Lakes Cup Series. Here we are at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Not Indy 200. I'm joined in the booth. Alex making his return to the booth today. How you doing today, Alex?
Oh, Kyle, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back in the booth. We're here in Indianapolis. It's going to be a tough track for these guys. A lot of downforce in these cars means that following is going to be tough tonight. So who can preserve their tires, and will the leader be able to hold his advantage?
This should be a fun one. We got 80 laps here. Looks like we have Zachary Henry on the pull down here. Just going to talk quick points here. Point standings. There it is. I got Elliot Henderson currently as your points that are coming into today's race, and Branski is 9 points behind him, and then Nathan Nicholson 21 points behind Henderson, Heller 27 points behind him. Those are the four guys really in this championship race right now at the moment. Just have to keep in mind there is no playoffs here in the Great Lakes Cup Series. These guys are going to race it out like it's the old Winston Cup Series.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting thing here tonight, because typically you imagine more pack style racing, but with the design of this racetrack and how these cars are built, it's going to be a lot harder to try and do anything even remotely close to that. You're going to have to back up your corners a lot and get really good runs down these straightaways. But what I found is, because of the high downforce, the leader has a massive advantage having all the clean air in his nose. And typically, our pole sitter tonight And Zachary Henry, he's going to be leading and doesn't typically have the greatest race pace, but with such an advantage, he might have a great time tonight.
Yeah, these last couple weeks, last maybe 2 months at this point, Zachary Henry has definitely been on a tear in the Great Lakes Series, whether it comes to the Cup Series, the Truck Series, coming fresh off a victory in the Truck Series at Bristol on Tuesday. We're going to go through some of our starting lineup right here. Like what we've mentioned, Zachary Henry right there on the pole in the first spot on the inside of row number 1, and then the outside in that bright pink 2511 Toyota, you have Christopher Heller, last season's champion.
Right behind them, you have the 37 Elliot Henderson. He really likes this racetrack, is a big fan of it, so we'll be seeing him likely at the front of the field tonight. He'll be starting alongside Jacob Branski, who's one of our championship contenders.
In the next row on the inside, in the number 12 machine in the 5th spot, you have Tyler McClellan, and then there's outside of the number 71 is Ty Aiken in the 6th spot.
Hunter Madalinas is going to follow them in the 7th position. He'll be starting alongside the 42 and Nick Martin.
Next row, row number 5, we have Daniel Nanny, and that's really going to end out our field. We only have a 9-car field here for this 80-lap event at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's not Indy, it's Indy 200 here on Flatout Racing Network, and Zachary Henry is going to leave where he left off on Tuesday. He's going to be leading the field down to the green flag momentarily here at Indianapolis. Anything else you got to look forward to here for this race, Alex?
What I'm going to be looking forward to is going to be the pit strategy tonight, as I feel track position is going to be really hard to gain on track. So if you're going to find it anywhere, it's going to be in that pit lane and through the entire pit cycle.
Indianapolis is always one of those tracks that usually comes down to fuel strategy, whether it comes to tires or fuel in general. Here comes the pace truck off of turn 4, and we're going to go green flag racing this time by. And the green flag is waving for Zachary Henry in the number 39 machine. He gets off to a good start on this inside. Heller and Branski pushing each other up high.
Two drivers looking to get clear into the corner. Oh, big contact. Elliot into the side of Branski. Somehow they don't wreck the car there, but that's going to severely hurt their pace. Oh, Elliot almost gets turned by McClellan. Oh my gosh, chaos in the opening 2 corners.
Wow. Crazy start here at Indianapolis. Almost a big crash there in 1 and 2, but they're able to gather it back up. But third on back is way separated from Zachary Henry and Christopher Heller now.
I mean, I said they weren't going to really turn this into a pack race, but they started racing side by side like crazy from all that contact. But even with them nearly wrecking, both Elliot Henderson and Branski both ended up in front of this entire pack of cars. I can't believe they managed to do that.
A great job by them. Just some great racing overall by some of these drivers, able to just keep it straight. And yeah, great job by Henderson and Branski, able to jump out in front of this group of guys and try to get back up to Heller and Henry, and it looks like Heller's making a move for the lead right now on his inside. Looks like Heller's going to clear him off turn 2. Great move from Heller. Looked like he had him in turn 1. Just was way better through both those corners there.
Not sure if Zachary Henry's just saving the car or if Heller's pushing it really hard, but that's going to give Heller the advantage. He's going to have all that clean air. I'm talking a lot about this leader's position and its importance, because I feel like if you want to win this race, you've got to be out front. I find it really hard to win the race from there on back.
Everyone's kind of settling into their spots right now. We're going to see who can do what on these longer runs, because we expect a real long run. We don't expect really any cautions with the low car count that we have today. Who can save their tires the best? Christopher Heller currently leading the field, getting those laps led. I'm not sure. This might be his first laps led of the season. It's been a difficult start of the season for Heller. Still in the championship race, of course, but Henderson and Branski have been just putting on a show here at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they definitely have. This championship battle between these two have been extremely intense, and it's been a blast to watch. I mean, even Heller, who pretty much dominated last season, he ran super strong against the rest of the field. He's 4th in points right now, a pretty good chunk behind these two drivers, but tonight he's leading them with Zachary Henry as sort of a buffer in between them. So he may have a good points haul today and close that gap up.
You see Christopher Heller pull down a little bit low on the front stretch, just not trying to give Zachary Henry any whiff of that draft, just trying to gap him as much as he can. Looks like he's just trying to see what these tires can do on these longer runs. You see Henderson back there still leading that next group as all those drivers are still pretty much ganged up as they've all stayed within each other's draft. And it looks like they're catching up to these front two a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, even though they had those incidents, what it did do is create a big gap, at least for Elliot Henderson, to give him at least somewhat of a mimic clean air as he kind of overshoots the corner there and gives Branski the bottom. But he doesn't have as much dirty air as all the guys do lined up right behind him, and they're starting to form a train and are pretty quickly catching up to Zachary Henry. But as of right now, Heller's the one that's putting the gap on the field.
Heller running some very strong laps up there in the race lead, just ran the quickest lap out of the whole field. There's a battle right behind Henderson. Aiken dove it into turn one. He's right next to Branski, hard racing of turn one. Now they're going to go into turn two. Ty Aiken not winning all that long ago. Oh, he slides up, almost contact with Nanny off turn two. Good recovery.
Just nipped the apron right there and almost lost the car, drifted up in front of Nanny. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit close. Nanny's getting to the quarter panel. This is where we're going to see a lot of these passes is right behind Henderson, because these guys are all on a train. They all have equal air. So if we're going to see a pass, going to happen right there. Ty Aiken and Daniel Nanny, massive contact. Nanny somehow saves it and gets to the escape lane.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Now that's a talented race car driver right there. That's Daniel Nanny right there. Oh, man. What a save.
That's going to severely damage the race cars, though. That was significant contact. I don't know how they managed to save it. Ty Aiken's right front is heavily damaged after he got into the wall from that. But, man, Daniel Nanny with the incredible save.
The save was incredible, but even the more incredible thing for me was the fact that he was all the way on the pit road entry, and he was still trying to keep up with these drivers getting sideways and was able to. Watch him on the inside on this pit road entry line. He's wheeling and dealing that thing, Alex, trying to keep up with the pack.
Thankfully, this racetrack is a pretty flat track, so the car is kind of set up to do that. Even if you do get to that road, it's not exactly detrimental as it might be somewhere else. And man, Nanny was lucky that that was true, because he just got away with something. He might be a gambling man.
And look at that. Ty Aiken has left the building. We are down to 8 drivers here on the field. Nanny has moved up to the 8th spot. These drivers still lined up back there, but we kind of have like 3 distinct groups right now. You have your front 2, then you have your second 2, then you have your group back there. And Branski get a huge run off turn 2. He went flying all the way to the inside, went way under Henderson. I don't know if Henderson maybe got into the wall or something.
Yeah, Henderson really slow off turn 2. Oh, I'm checking the replay. It looked like he did nip the wall a little bit off of turn 2. That gave Branski the position, so Elliot's struggling a little bit with a bit of a mistake there. A surprising one at that, because he's a driver that we expect to like this track and do well here. So I'm surprised to see the mistake out of him.
Still very early on in this race. Henderson going to gather up his things and keep on going, keep on trucking in that 4th spot right behind Jacob Branski, trying to keep in his draft at least. Running it pretty hard there in turn 1. Maybe overdrove the corner a little bit, trying to get off the corner.
Yeah, something I'm seeing develop with these guys towards the front of the field is they're kind of keeping pretty steady gaps between one another. And that's just kind of how you have to drive it when you're dealing with dirty air. You just have to leave a little bit of a gap so you have some air and can react to the driver in front, and then use the draft on the straightaways to pick up the time you lost in the corners. So really, when we're going to see passing is a decent chunk into this run when the tires start to really shift on these cars. And we might see the gaps start to close up a lot more.
While we see these drivers begin to separate here, we're going to go to a Bear of the Day. We'll be back in a moment after these commercials.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Hello and welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Christopher Heller is still your race leader after that quick word from our sponsors. Heller leading the field. Henry right behind him. Branski's beginning to put a little bit of separation between himself and Henderson. Henry's also been driving down Heller a little bit the last couple of laps. Not too much though. Pretty decent race. Let's see what's going on maybe back there between 5th and 8th and 9th back there. They're still pretty ganged up back here. You see Nick Martin back here. We haven't talked about him at all yet. Hunter Madalinas, Tyler McClellan. But look at Daniel Nanny. He got past all three of these drivers. Great job by him. He's moved himself up into the top 5.
Yeah, Daniel Nanny's been pretty confident making moves. He's been the one doing probably the most passing this entire race. I mean, after making that credible save earlier, he's driven his way back up to the front of this little pack back here. But with him being about 2 seconds off of Elliot Henderson in 4th position, he's got a mammoth task ahead of him to catch back up.
Definitely a huge task. It's hard to make up time at a track like Indianapolis. That's why it's just so big on tires. If you have those tires at the end of a run, you can really make up a lot of time really fast. And we're looking at Daniel Nanny right now, and he's just trying to make up as much time as he can. That last lap, though, just to put it in your frame of mind, Nanny was the quickest. Out of all the drivers on the track, he was the quickest driver last time by.
Yeah, the reason why I want to say that his save was extremely lucky, because looking at his car, he doesn't have any damage. Despite that incident, his car is still a brand new race car, so he still has the ability to have front-running pace if he has the driver ability to do that. And the last time by, he had a really quick lap. We'll have to see as he comes across the line. This time, his gap to the leader and his gap to Elliot, he gained about a 10th on Elliot the last lap, and as he crosses the line right about now, he gained 3/10 on Elliot that time. So he's running Elliot down at a pretty strong pace right now and pulling away from the guys behind him.
Nanny is driving Henderson down pretty quick. That last time by, Branski was the quickest, though, by almost a 10th over Heller and almost 2/10 over Daniel Nanny. So it's not too much separation between these front drivers right now, but Nanny's trying to get up there and trying to get as many points as he can.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm currently watching a little bit right now, other than Nanny running him down, so we see a pass, Tyler McClellan making the move on Nick Martin. This is where a lot of the shifting's been happening, has been back here. Ever since Tyler McClellan kind of fell to the back after the lap 1 mayhem, that was that start, he just kind of sat and waited in the back. Maybe the tires are starting to kick in now, and he's going to successfully make that pass on Nick Martin.
Tyler McClellan in that Ryan Newman throwback all-tell machine, gonna pass by Nick Martin and move himself into the 7th spot. And then my bad on that, Nanny is not competing for cup points. He is a Truck Series driver, but he's just trying to get the best finish he can after that issue earlier. But here you see McClellan. He's gotten past Martin. He's immediately driving away from him, trying to get to Hunter Madalinas in the FedEx machine.
Yeah, I do like that red car to Ryan Newman. I feel like Ryan Newman in the Penske era was such a clean-looking car. Like, even though it was so basic and simple, it's just a clean-looking car. And even on the modern car, it looks very nice. I'm a fan of it.
Tyler McClellan is as well, and he's driving the crap out of this Alltel machine. He's trying to get to Madalena's. He's driving him down. You've seen the gap already shrunk a good amount since we've talked about it. He's getting away from Martin as well, so there is some speed in this Alltel machine right now.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of pace on Hunter Madalena, so we'll see if he makes the pass soon. It's going to take him a little bit, though. Hunter Madalena's kind of has the pseudo-dirty air with about a 1-second gap to Nanny in front of him, so he's got a little bit cleaner air than McClellan does. It might be easier to turn, so it's going to be harder for him to make the pass, but this deep in the field, it might not be as hard as, say, Zachary Henry on Heller, who's actually closed the gap up a lot to Heller. I'm just looking now, he's within 2/10 this last lap.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that on the backstretch that last time by, Heller was doing everything he can to break the draft, and here you see it on the front stretch as well. This is a prime example. You see it all the time when drivers race at Indianapolis on the oval. It's always about breaking the draft on the front stretch and the back straightaway, and that's what Heller's trying to do right now to Zachary Henry, but Henry's keeping up for now.
The greatest thing I'm watching Zachary Henry do right now is he's backing up the entry of his corner so much. He's actually turning in late to the corner, but using a bit more brake. And that allows him to point the car down the straightaway, which means even if he can't turn the car as well, he doesn't need to. He's got the car pointed straight already. So he's doing a great job right behind Heller to keep the front end on that car and keep the tires underneath him.
The driver that's also really on the move, you see that dark blue Red Bull machine getting bigger on your screen right there. He's just getting closer and closer. I've been keeping track of Branski the last few laps. He's been running almost a 10th quicker every lap for the last 3 or 4 laps on Zachary Henry and Christopher Heller, so he is munching at that gap a little bit. That last time by though, Heller ran a stellar lap, one of his quickest laps in a while, ran 2 whole tenths quicker than anybody else in the field that last time by.
Yeah, that could possibly be just a show of strength to Zachary Henry to tell him, even if you get up here, I'm not going to let you by because I have better tire than you. And I think he's showing that off now to make Zachary Henry hopefully back off so that Heller can just run his line. Because what that's doing, every time Heller dives to the bottom like that, it makes the straightaways longer, and it means Jacob Branski's running a shorter lap than them, which makes it easier for him to catch up.
There you see Jacob Branski. We're looking at his onboard as he tries to get up there to the top 2. The dog, Jacob Branski, having a very strong season here in the Cup Series, trying to get himself a championship. Currently in that 3rd spot, trying to get up to Henry and Heller. Let's see those lap times last time by. It looked like Branski ran the quickest lap out of this front 3 by around a half a tenth. And Zachary Henry was almost 2 tenths quicker than Heller, so he's right back to Heller's bumper in that bright pink number 11.
I think the corner I'm noticing that Zachary Henry's the best in versus Heller is turn 1. He's really getting down into that corner late, but having such a low exit that he could get the power down really early, and he gains a lot through that corner. Same thing kind of down here in 3 as well. He kind of does a similar thing. It's just not as good, but he's really good down at turn 1, but that just makes it hard to pass because he really needs to get the speed up in these corners like turn 4 and turn 2.
Here you see Heller and Zachary Henry still maintaining a similar gap. It looks like maybe this lap that Heller might have gapped Henry a little bit. You can see the speed of the line. Yeah, Heller pulled away by around a tenth that last time by, but Branski's still chomping away. Branski was 2 tenths quicker than Henry and 1 tenth quicker than Heller. He's a little, almost a second and a half back now, Alex. He was over 2 seconds not all that long ago.
I mean, for most of this run, ever since Elliot got into the wall a little bit earlier in the race, Jacob Branski's had such a big gap to these 2 leaders that he's essentially had the same situation as Christopher Heller in terms of what he's dealing with in the car. So he probably has nearly as good tire as our leader right now, and it's showing as he's running these 2 down.
Right now, these 3 drivers are kind of on a different planet. You have these 3 drivers around 54.8, a 54.7, and a 54.9. Everyone else is almost a full half second slower than these front 3 drivers. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th They're all around a half a second off of the pace. Oh, and there's McClellan diving to the inside. It looked like he might have slammed the wall. I'm not sure, and he hits the cone, coming back onto the track.
He got really wide in turn 4 and just really missed the exit of the corner and nailed the outside wall. Thankfully, did not hit the pit lane walls. It looked like he was going towards that, but he was just in the dirty air of Nick Martin, got the front end, just lost all the grip in the front end and pushed way wide at the exit of the corner.
Here we are going to take a look at the replay from his onboard. Bam, hits the wall pretty good and just sends him sideways. Great job keeping it off of pit road and, like you said, Alex, out of that inside wall, because that could have been really bad. McClellan will recover and be in the 8th spot, but now he's almost 5 seconds behind Nick Martin for that 7th spot.
I have reason to believe that gap might get a little bigger too, as I believe he hit the yellow cone, was to the left of it, and that's the pit road entry speed, so he might end up getting a black flag, although I'm not fully sure about that.
I'm looking right now. It looks like his black flags were cleared because he was trying to save the car, so it looks like someone had cleared his black flags for him.
Alright, seems like the officials here tonight are saying, iRacing, we've got this covered.
We got this. Here's Henry. He's getting closer and closer, and there he is. Just you've mentioned it, Alex. He's just really backing down early in these corners, trying to get those runs off.
And he's been doing a great job at it. I mean, honestly, this is the best I've ever seen anybody in dirty air at this racetrack basically run down the person in front. I mean, he's been at this gap for the last almost 5 to 10 laps, running Heller down lap by lap. And he's been doing a great job managing these corners, but he's going to have to figure out a way around him soon, as he might have to worry about Branski in the next 5 laps or so if he keeps running this pace.
I don't think it's a might. I think he will have to worry about Branski. Branski is chomping at that lead at least a 10th a lap. He just keeps on coming and coming in that number 23 machine. He must have drank some Red Bull, because he has some wings right now on that machine.
I don't know how I feel about that pun, Kyle. I kind of... That one...
Didn't do it for you?
It didn't do it for me. It was clever, but it didn't do it for me.
Man. Ka-chow. Christopher Heller leading your field right now. And Henry's keeping up. He's still right there, but he just can't... Like, there's usually, like, there's like that car length gap right there that he just can't get in there. He just can't get close enough to that number 11 machine. That dirty air just can't... It just prevents him every single time to getting closer.
Thing is, though, this is the closest he's been. I mean, going into turn 1, he was almost right on his bumper before backing up the corner, but the closer and closer you get, the more air you take off that front end, so it's just going to make it harder and harder to pass him. But Henry's doing a fantastic job at handling that and making sure he doesn't overdrive those front tires.
Heller and Henry right here. You can see Branski on the screen as well, popping up sometimes in that dark blue machine. Right now he's around a 1.5 seconds back of these drivers. That last time by, he actually ran a pretty slow lap compared to these other two. He's been running faster almost every lap, but that last time by was almost 0.2 slower than Henry and Heller. Don't know if he had any issues on that lap or not. Going to check the times once again here at the line. And Heller looks like he ran around a 0.5 seconds quicker than Henry and around a full 1/10 quicker than Jacob Branski.
Yeah, I've been taking note of Branski, watching him a little bit. I've noticed coming off onto the straightaways, turn 2, turn 4, he's been getting a little bit loose on the exit. He might be clipping the apron, he might be pushing it a little hard on throttle, and he kind of gets that rear end really close to the wall. He hasn't hit it yet, but he's gotten really close, and that could be hurting his lap time.
Very good point there, Alex. These two just can't separate themselves. Henry and Heller, has been a good race between them, just been able to keep up with one another. Henry was leading earlier, and Heller is leading now and has led a good amount of the beginning portion of this race. We're only around a quarter of the way through the thing so far, almost 30 laps into an 80-lap race here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're not exactly sure when the fuel window is here today, so we're hoping they might make it to lap around 40. Get ourselves a little bit of a race when it comes to tires. Not sure how long these drivers can go on a tank of fuel. Almost 10 laps until that halfway point. Henry inching closer and closer here, Alex. This is as close as he's gotten yet.
Looks like he's making the move on Heller. He got a great run out of turn 2, and he's coming to the inside. This should be the position for Henry. He's been working on it for over 20 laps, and it looks like he's going to gain the position, but Heller's going to fight him around the outside. It's going to be a tough pass, but he's got to do it before Branski catches up, because this is going to slow them up a ton.
Zachary Henry on his inside. He has to complete this pass fast, and he will. It looked like Heller might have even backed off a little bit and just made the pass happen. And they're going to come on pit road. This is the beginning of pit stops. Wow. What? Oh, almost contact. Very hard onto pit road was Heller and Henry. Heller and Henry almost made contact. Branski with a fantastic entry to pit road. He's right there.
Yeah, Branski gained a ton of time on the pit entry. If he gets a good enough stop, he could jump one of these guys, or both of them even. He got a fantastic entry. Now this is where we see positions change. Henry worked so hard at it, but Heller had the better entry and got him back. Worked at it for a long time, but now...
Oh! His box. Branski too.
Oh, no! So Zachary Henry got in his box, right? And both Heller and Branski overshot. Elliot Henderson didn't overshoot, though, so he'll gain a lot of time on these guys. Critical mistake for those two drivers. That's going to give Zachary Henry the lead easily.
Mr. Cool, Zachary Henry was able to pull into his box all right, and that's going to put him back into the race lead. Heller's not too far behind, and there's Branski not too far behind him as well. And you guys didn't miss anything on the track. A very rare occasion here in the Great Lakes Series. Every single driver came onto pit road at the exact same time. So this is still the battle for the race lead.
And incredibly enough, these drivers all had the same strategy, pitting on lap 27 onto 28. That's going to guarantee they at least have to make one more stop from here on out. Going to be likely around lap 57, 54-ish, 55. Which will just narrowly make them to the end of the race. So this is the strategy for all these guys tonight. They're committed to it. It's all going to be about on-track pace and how you get on and off pit road.
Yeah, these drivers are going to have to pit at least one more time, pending on cautions and stuff like that. Christopher Heller, right? You see him right there in the second spot. You see how much time he had lost because he overshot his pit box. Branski as well. Branski caught up to him, had the most perfect entry to pit road you could ever want, but now he's back there almost 2.5 seconds behind Henry, and Heller is around a little over a second behind Henry in the second spot.
Well, this is definitely the golden opportunity for Zachary Henry. He learned a big lesson over the last run at just how important that lead position is. He followed Christopher Heller for that entire run almost, from the point he got past all the way until the pit stop. He just could not get around him. Only at the very death of the run was he able to. And now that he's got a 1 second advantage, he has the catbird seat. So he has to control this if he wants to win this race.
Henry leading the field, but Heller's already chomping into that lead pretty good. Look at that last time by. He caught up a good amount. I don't know if Henry was just taking it too easy or what.
Well, this happened on the last run. Christopher Heller, the really good pace for the first about 5 laps of the run. He ran down Henry and passed him early in the run, and that's what caused the situation we had at the end of that run. But now with such a big gap with Henry, Henry's got to pick up his pace. He's got to make sure he stays in front of Heller, because he cannot let him pass him and have that happen all over again.
Yeah, you talking about that, then I was looking at the best lap times of the day, and it's very interesting. Zachary Henry, by far, has the slowest, fastest lap time until that last lap. Zachary Henry just put down a 52.3, but his quickest lap time before that was a 52.5 something, and that was 0.3 plus slower than anybody else's fastest lap. So Henry's just really taking care of these tires, it seems like, Alex.
Well, Christopher Heller isn't. He ran a 52.0, so 0.3 faster that last lap. He is not saving any tire. He wants the position early while they still have grip in the tires. And there's two strategies. You do what Zachary Henry did and wait almost the entire run and make sure you have the tire at the end, which can really help you in a green flag race. Or you do what Christopher Heller does and try and get the position early and do whatever you can to hold it while you have that slight grip advantage.
That's what it seems like Heller's strategy is right now. He's getting to Henry really fast. You see it on the onboard, how close he's getting to that bumper going into turn 1. Now they're coming off turn 1, going into turn 2. Heller's really trying to get to Henry as fast as he can. That last time by, Heller ran a 10th quicker than Henry, and Branski ran 2 whole tenths quicker than Henry. So Branski's trying to catch back up too, as he's 1.7 back on the race lead.
These two have really been the show tonight. Other than the chaos at the start, these two have had the on-track pace, but ooh, that's tough for Christopher Heller. He went into the corner a bit deep, but Zachary Henry was stuck up right in front of his nose, and you saw him push a little bit in the corner. He's starting to slow up now. We're reaching the point where we're hitting lap number 5 of this run, and this is where Heller started to run at a constant and even pace with Zachary Henry, who's behind him. So we'll see if he's even able to get up to him to pass him, but I say that he gets a massive run into turn 1.
These drivers are approaching the lap car of Tyler McClellan. You saw him on your screen in that number 12 machine. They're a couple seconds back of him. They should be to him probably in, thinking 5 to 10 laps. There he is right there. They're running similar pace right now because they all made pit stops at the same time. McClellan's a little slower.
And McClellan is just gonna have to likely just get out of these guys' way. He's not really racing for any position right now. He's about a little over 30 seconds back from Nick Martin in front of him. So he's just running his own race, hoping something happens that he could get himself back into this race. But these two leaders are hoping, Heller's hoping that McClellan blocks Henry in some sort of way, and Henry is hoping he gets out of his way as soon as possible, because the longer he stays behind him, the harder it's going to be for Henry to hold the lead.
And you're watching these front two stay in touch, and Branski's catching up pretty quick now. That last time by, he was a 1.5 quicker than Henry, and almost 2.5 tenths quicker than Christopher Heller. Here's the onboard of the Red Bull machine of Jacob Branski as he tries to drive down the top two of Zachary Henry and Christopher Heller, who have those two have single-handedly dominated this race.
Yeah, single-handedly for sure. I was a little bit worried because I remember Zachary Henry in the Truck Series when they came to Indianapolis. He went on pole and fell back very quickly and just never was able to find his way back to the front of the field. But today, he qualified on pole, but he kept himself at the front of the field and is now leading this race. So he's changed since then and has made a major improvement here on race pace.
Branski's coming. That last time by, he was a half a second quicker than your race leader. So Branski is charging right now in that number 23 machine on this top two. He's going to be there momentarily if they keep on driving like this.
I have reason to believe these two leaders are driving extremely hard. We know Heller, last run, got the position as early as he could, and I think he's still pushing, looking for that, because he already knows his tires are getting killed, and he just wants to make the move now before Branski, who likely was just relaxing, is now catching up drastically.
Yeah, we saw Branski on that last run begin to charge down on these top two guys. Let's see what we can do on this run where he doesn't have to battle anybody at all, because you have to keep in mind he was in some pretty fierce battles there early on in that first run. And now there he is. You see him only around 2-3 car lengths behind Christopher Heller. This is the first time we're going to have a 3-car battle for the lead here.
Ever since the start of this race, when Branski got into it with Elliot, he's just been so far back of these leaders, it almost looked like he had no shot at it, but his pace has been incredible. He's run these guys down over this 36 laps of this race and is now in the battle for the lead once again.
Yeah, approaching the halfway point here in Indianapolis, and Jacob Branski, he's charging up real quick in that number 23 machine, threatening Heller and Henry, and Heller sees that in his rear view, and he's trying to get to Henry as he got really close to Henry's bumper in turn 3, and he's right there, only around 2 car lengths back of Zachary Henry, trying to get to the race lead before Branski gets to him.
This is where the mind games begin, Kyle, because the issue here now is that it's not a 1v1 front versus second. It is now all 3 cars fighting each other. If you're Branski, do you want to pass Heller? Because yes, you're going to be in the seat to try and pass the leader, but you're going to be fighting Heller, and you could hurt your tire and give the leader a massive tire advantage. But if you're Heller, do you want to try and back up to give yourself the chance at Henry as he gets a really good corner as Henry misses the bottom, as closest he's been this whole run, but he's not going to be able to make the move because you saw right there, if he fails to make the move, Branski can just jump him. So this is the battle and the mind games that's going to go on between all three of these drivers.
Just something to point out, a lot of the times when we have a 3 or 4 car battle up here at the front, we usually have 2 drivers that are teammates. All 3 of these drivers are not teammates. You have Branski, who's part of split second. You have the number 11 of Christopher Heller, who's part of 2511. And then you have Zachary Henry, who's an independent driver. He's a free agent. He's not on a race team. So these 3 drivers are going to race as hard as they can because these drivers are not teammates whatsoever.
Yeah, Zachary Henry, he doesn't have as many starts as the rest of these guys in this league, so in terms of points, he's a little bit down the order. But, I mean, if he could show that he could run up front, it might give him a good opportunity for future races to come to become a part of one of these 2 powerhouses in this league.
Zachary Henry looking very strong, and like I said earlier, the last maybe month or 2, he's looked extremely strong. He's been on a tear in the Great Lakes Cup Series and Truck Series. Has looked very good over the last month or 2, put in some very good runs, and he's doing it again here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we're approaching halfway.
There's a little bit of connection issues there for Zachary Henry. He had just disappeared for a quick second, but he's back on track, so no harm, no foul, but might have to watch out for that because if something happens there, well, boom, this whole thing changes. Now you've had 2 guys who've been following them the whole race are now leading the race. But again, Zachary Henry down in turn 3, kind of missed the corner again, a little bit high in that corner. That gave Heller a massive run as they are slowly approaching this lap car.
Yeah, Henry might use that 12's draft a little bit, maybe try to separate himself from Heller. But Heller is keeping up. He's right there. He really wants to make a move on Henry, but he just doesn't quite have the run to do it. And McClellan's going to move out of these drivers' way right here. Going to move all the way up to the high side and get out all three of their ways. It's a good job from Tyler McClellan, up-and-coming driver here in the Great Lakes Series. Has put on some good performances over the last couple of weeks.
Well, that was essentially a dream scenario for Henry. McClellan got way out of the way in the corner, gave him all the air back, and then proceeded to hurt the exit of Heller because of where he was on track. So that just opened up the gap a little bit. But these corners, man, Heller has been running them down the straightaways. He's been getting these runs, and if Henry makes a slight mistake, that's going to give Heller the run to the inside. So he's going to have to watch out. He might have to start doing what Heller was doing earlier to hold the lead.
Well, we're going to look at this battle in the side-by-side for a few moments before we head to our last round of pit stops. We'll be in like 15 laps. So we'll be back momentarily here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Flatout Racing Network. Here you see a battle for second. Branski made a great move in turns 1 and 2, and he's going to get on the high side of Christopher Heller. There's a big battle coming down the back stretch right in front of the lap car, Tyler McClellan. And Henry got to be loving this. He's being able to gap both of these drivers because of this battle by a good amount, and they haven't even been battling a full lap, and he's already gapped him by almost a second.
It is so tough to not try and lose time when you're in this scenario, but we're noticing Tyler McClellan, he's actually teammates to Branski. They're talking to each other in the voice chat, so he's helping out Branski a little bit. But Heller had a really bad exit off turn 1. That gave Branski the outside going into turn 2. But it seems the move was not complete, and they just lost time because Heller back to the second position. They're now 1.1 seconds off of Zachary Henry. Dream scenario for our leader.
These drivers way far back now from the race leader, almost a second and a half, between a second and a second and a half right now. That lead continues to increase a little bit coming down the back stretch. Branski's going to make this pass on Heller. He's going to have to make it quick, or he's going to have to maybe even get a little bit aggressive. Here you see him on his inside. He's going to drive it into turn 4 hard, and he's going to clear him. He's going to pull right on up. It looks like Heller maybe just gave him the spot there.
That was a great move from Branski. I can't believe he got under him there. That was a tight one to make the car be able to stick down there, but he made it and is now in front in the second position. Driver who's probably had the best pace all day. A little bit unlucky at the start, is now up to the second position, is going to be running Zachary Henry down because we noticed he was very good on the long runs at the end of that last run. So we'll see how much time he can make up before the pit stop in about 10 laps.
We're going to have that final set of pit stops in around roughly 10 laps. I don't expect everyone to come in on the exact same lap this time. I expect some differences, whether it be 1 lap or 2 laps. Anything more than 2 laps, though, you might not be able to either make it to the finish or make it on your current fuel window. And here you see Jacob Branski in the second spot. He's trying to gap Christopher Heller and get back up Zachary Henry. We're going to check the times at the line this time by Zachary Henry leading Branski by almost a second and a half, 1.3 up right now on Branski. Last time by, Henry ran a 54.66, Branski with the 54.65, and Heller with the 54.86. So Branski only 100th quicker than Henry. He's going to have to pick up the time more than that if he wants to get to him.
Yeah, and just flipping through the field a little bit of a bit of a battle that might develop in a little bit here is between Elliot Henderson and Daniel Nanny. The gap's about a half second between these two drivers, a little bit over that, but Nanny's been very slowly clawing at that gap to Elliot Henderson, so we might have to check up on that in a little while to see if he can get up there and battle with him.
Elliot has gained around a second on the race leader, Zachary Henry. So Henderson's found a way to make the tires work on this run, and it really says a lot about Nanny's speed as well, the fact that he's driving down Henderson while Henderson is driving down the leaders. If we get a caution here, Alex, these two drivers are definitely going to have something to say about this race win.
Yeah, definitely, though. Branski is running down Zachary Henry just a little bit. It's not much, but he's just running him down just a very small amount every lap, and that can make the difference. He's got a lot of time to do it, about 8 or 9 laps now until the pit stop, so this is a big track, so he's got a lot of time to make up that gap if he could keep going at about a 10th a lap as he's been doing.
Just to overview Branski's last run, he was in a pretty heavy battle in those first couple laps in the run, and once he got clear, he was around 2.5 seconds, a little over 2.5 seconds behind our race leader, and over the run, he was able to chomp that lead down to almost a second. And you saw how great he got into pit road last time by. If he can recreate that pit road entry and get into his pit box cleanly, there's no reason Branski can't be in the race lead, or at least right behind Henry after this next set of pit stops.
Yeah, and the one thing that he probably would have had the lead, or at least been really close to it, if he had not overshot his box. But that's something I do want to bring up, because at this racetrack, you use a little bit of brake going down into turn 1 and down into turn 3. And there's reasonable strategy to lower the brake bias and help the car try and rotate. And so the difference being with that is that when you're going into the pit lane, it's very easy to overshoot the box on a lower brake bias because the rear wheels just get really light and start bouncing a little bit, and it's easy to overshoot the box. So it's possible Branski could be running a lower brake bias than these other two, making it easier for him to overshoot the box.
Last time by, Heller put down a steamer. He was a little over 3/10 quicker than our race leader, Zach Henry, and a little over 2/10 quicker than Branski. He's trying to get back up to Jacob Branski. Both these drivers are catching up to the leader, Zach Henry. They're around a second back right now of Zach Henry in the number 39, who's leading the race.
Now, as bizarre as this sounds, it's actually great to have Heller be this close to Branski, because if these two can start to get a little bit of a draft going, at least down these straightaways, it could help them catch up to this lead a lot, as going down to turn 3, they're about 9/10 back off the leader, so they gained about just under 2/10 that last time by, and they're making up a good portion of time now that Heller's gotten a lot closer to Branski.
Heller and Branski might have to work together a little bit. Those Toyotas, that TRD power right there in second and third, might have to learn to work together and try to at least get up to Zachary Henry, and at that time, all bets and deals are off.
Yeah, definitely. And a little bit of update on Elliot. His pace seems to have waned off a little bit. He's dropped about 8/10 since we last brought him up, so a little bit of a hope for him to catch up to this lead has started to dwindle a little bit, as his pace has not been as good the last few laps.
Hunter Madalinas is on pit road. Looks like he has some pretty heavy damage to his left. He spun off of turn 2, it looks like, around 2 or 3 laps ago. Number 17 of Hunter Madalinas, he's currently on pit road getting some repairs, it looks like, to that 17 machine. We're going to try to get you a replay on that incident. Looked like he might have been a self-spun off, it looked like to be turn 2, into the inside wall, and got some pretty significant damage to the left front of that FedEx Toyota. Here you are going to see a replay right here. You see Madalinas coming off turn 2, just trying to get as much time back, gets into the wall, tries to save, and spins to the inside. Hunter Madalinas, competing for a Truck Series championship on the Great Lakes Truck Series side of things, and gets into that inside wall pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. He tried to keep the throttle in it after he got into the wall because he missed the apex turn 2 a little bit. Got himself wide, got into the wall, and just kept his foot in it, because if you get out of the throttle, you can lose so much time down the straightaways with how long they are, and sadly him trying to do that made him loose and spin out there and give himself a lot of damage. So that's going to help out at least Tyler McClellan. He's pretty happy because he just got a free position from that.
Branski is just whipping it out right now. That last time he was 3/10 quicker than Henry. The time before that he was 4/10 quicker than Henry. He's right there. He's less than a half a second now behind Henry. He has flipped the switch when we looked at that replay there, Alex.
Yeah, Christopher Heller can't even remotely catch up, and he was right behind Branski before, so Branski must have been saving tire, because my gosh, he is gaining so much time a lap, it's actually ridiculous. This is some crazy pace that comes out of Branski.
Ran turn 3 pretty hard right there, got up close to the wall. Right here behind Henry. That's a great camera view right there, by the way. Zachary Henry leading the field, and Branski has a huge run off the corner. Look, at Henry might have almost gotten into the wall. And Branski's going to take the race lead in the Red Bull Toyota for the first time today.
Oh, this is not good for Zachary Henry. I have reason to believe they're going to be pitting within the next 2 laps. So it's not going to be as terrible of a loss as Zachary Henry may be thinking. But man, that is just disastrous. Zachary Henry got mega tight off turn 4. Had to jump out of the gas. Branski almost nailed the wall with his right rear, but kept his foot in it and gave himself the run down the front straightaway.
Zachary Henry was definitely feeling that pressure from Jacob Branski. Jacob Branski's now your race leader. Here's the onboard camera from Henry. Look at him almost getting to the wall. He had to completely back out of it, and Branski goes flying by him on the inside. Branski kept in the gas, and he's completed the pass, but Henry's still right there behind him. We're going to be approaching that last set of pit stops here within the next couple of laps.
I can see them either pitting on this coming lap or the next lap and try and give themselves 1 lap newer tires, but I'm not sure. The lead has been really strong today. while we have seen passes for the lead, they've all come right at the death of the run. Henry's trying to pass Heller right at the death of the run, and now Branski passing Henry only 2 or 3 laps before they come into the pit lane. So if you want to at least have the best shot to win the race, you seem to want to be in the lead, but I'm not sure
Here
because
comes Henry.
exactly, because both runs, it seems to be right at the end, they just start battling like it's almost a normal race with no air involved. It's very interesting for me to watch this.
Just a couple of laps away at most from pit stops. Here comes Henry. Henry and Heller have the same strategy. They're both going to early pit here. Henry, oh, and Heller's going to spin back on the track to avoid Henry. And that's going to bring the caution. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
In just that moment, too, Elliot Henderson was just outside of the pit lane when the caution came out, so he got into the pit lane under caution. That might give himself a penalty as well. That not only affected everybody with the caution, but could affect Elliot a lot as well.
And that's going to be really good, though, for Henry, at least. I don't know about Henderson, but Henry's going to end up with the race lead, I'm thinking here. Here you see Heller, and Henry's way slow coming on pit entry, just making sure he gets underneath the speed limit. And Heller tries to... Look at McClellan! What? Look at that! What an avoidance from Tyler McClellan. Wow.
Yeah, that was really close for McClellan. He floored his way past this wreck, watching Heller spin in front of him.
Sometimes that's the best. Sometimes that's the best move, Alex.
Sometimes, yeah, if you gotta get by a wreck, sometimes the fastest way is the best way, but every now and then it might hurt a little bit more than you might have wished for it to hurt if you're going that quickly. But yeah, I'm hearing over the radio, Heller says he just kind of wheel hopped. You could see the RPMs go crazy on the dashboard. That's the sign of a car wheel hopping. That's when the rear end starts bouncing up and down. That's when you'll be able to see that on the dashboard with the RPM spiking up and down like that.
Well, this has completely changed the race. We're gonna have a great run to the finish at this point. And like I said, I think that caution is gonna help out Henry the most because Henry's gonna be your race leader because he was on pit road when the caution came out. And Henderson, I'm not sure if he ended up getting a black flag or not. If he did not get a black flag, he's gonna end up being in the second spot, and he's gonna be right there in contention for the win as well. Daniel Nanny's gonna be up here now, and we know how much speed Nanny had shown. So this can get really interesting. Here you see Henderson. I think this is him coming onto pit road. Can't quite see the lights from that angle. It looks like the lights are off. They are red right there at the entry to pit road. So that should be a black flag for Mr. Bobby Carter, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, and you see he tried to slow down to see if he can manage to get off a pit lane, but just slid when he got on the brakes and slid right into the pit lane. So he really didn't have much chance to avoid that. If that does end up becoming a penalty for him, we'll have to see on the next restart if he comes into the pit lane. But he was sitting in a comfortable 4th place, but now he might be having a lot of issues now.
Here you see it, Henry taking a pretty slow entry to pit road, playing it safe, and Heller, like he said on the radio, just kind of wheel hopped to getting into the pit road as fast as he can. There you see the lights turn off right before Henderson jumps in, and Henderson almost loses it, and he basically has to come on pit road, or he might wreck into Daniel Nanny at that point.
Yeah, and the difference here between the sim here and real life is that in real life, if that does happen, you just drive through the pit lane, and it's no harm, no foul. But if that happens to you on iRacing, you just have to commit to taking the pit stop and just accept the penalty. And when that happened, Elliot Henderson ended up going through the pit lane, taking his pit stop as we see him pulling over. So it looks like he did get a penalty as taking an EOL. Actually, he's going back down pit lane, which is interesting.
I'm not sure what the issue there is with Henderson. Okay, I'm hearing on the radio that Henderson is pulling on pit road to self-serve a black flag, and that will be his black flag for coming down pit road to avoid the accident. So it's going to be a self-served black flag here for Elliot Henderson. He'll be going to the back of the pack end of the longest line in the number 37 machine, and when we go green flag this time by.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't too much he could have done to avoid that there. He was already committed to coming onto the pit lane and wanted to brake late so that he could get the best speed in the pit lane, but that made it so that he had no time to react to the caution and just ended up giving himself the penalty. So he's going to have to find his way back up to at least up to the 4th position where he was, if not the lead, but he just simply has not had the pace after hitting the wall to do that. But luckily for somebody else today, Zachary Henry pitting on that lap with the caution coming out. He got the track position over Branski, who was ahead of him, and didn't even spend a lap on tires because the caution came out before he even got off the pit lane.
On this restart, the number 1 driver I'm watching is that driver in 4th place, that A&W Ford Mustang. That's Daniel Nanny. Daniel Nanny has shown a lot of speed in the beginning portions of these runs, and he hasn't been up here competing with the leaders because of that almost tragic accident in the early running of this thing. And now Nanny's up here battling with the race leaders. I'm interested to see what he can do in that 45 machine.
Yeah, he's sole representing Ford right now. Is the only Ford currently in the field. But he'll want to represent the brand well, but we're going to be going green here.
Zachary Henry going to lead him to the green flag possibly for the last time after our first caution flag of the day. Zachary Henry with a good start right here, and he's going to jump in front of Branski on the high side. Now Nanny's trying to take the 3rd spot away from Heller going into turn 1 with Hunter Madalinas a couple of laps down right behind them.
Oh, they're getting a bit loose going through turn 1. Both Heller and Nanny got a little bit loose. Heller does have the advantageous spot here, but Heller gets really loose on the bottom. That's going to give Nanny the position. It might end up giving the position to Hunter, but they're going to go 3 wide on the back straight. Oh, disaster for Heller. He's losing so many positions. Here comes Elliot Henderson as well for the spot.
That last time through 1 and 2, Heller looked like he was trying to learn how to ice skate because he was sliding all around that inside of the track. And now he has Nick Martin right there battling for 4th, and Elliot Henderson fresh off his penalty after coming through pit road when it was closed. And here's Hunter Madalinas behind them as well. He's a couple laps down, but he doesn't mind doing a little racing here.
Looks like the fast drivers of the night are sorting their way back up through. Heller and Henderson get their way back in front of these 2 drivers who, those 2 have been battling in the back tonight. I haven't given too much of a mention between Madalinas and Nick Martin, but they've been having a good battle in the back. But the battle is at the front of the field. Branski's right behind Zachary Henry and wants the position.
Branski wants that spot bad from Henry. He's right there. He's always almost in his bumper. You see it right there. A great camera view just to put in perspective how close he just got. And now he's on his inside going through turn 4. And here comes Daniel Nanny in the 45. He's right behind these 2. He's beginning to catch up as well. This might be a 3-car battle going into turn 1.
If he wants to make the move, it could be a 3-wide battle in the turn 1. If we see something like that happen, Zachary Henry's at a disadvantage into 1. He's going to try and fight it, but just isn't able to. Lucky he's able to slot into the 2nd position, but Branski back out front, probably our fastest driver on the day, takes the catbird seat of the night.
Yeah, great move from Branski. A very aggressive move in 3 and 4, knowing that he needs to get this pass done early. It's the best time to get the pass. But Henry's been so good on these long runs as well. You saw how well he was able to keep up with Heller earlier and just save his tires till the very end of the run. But now you have Nanny in here as well, and Henderson's beginning to catch up as well. He's in that 5th spot. Nick Martin not too far back either. We have 6 drivers here who were completely capable of winning this race right now.
It's going to be tough to pass Branski. He has good short run speed. He has good long run speed. Your best shot is save really hard now. Try and pass him in the middle before he reaches the end of that run, because every single time within the last 5 laps of the run, he pulls such massive lap time out of absolutely nowhere. And the field's got to be worried about that.
You see right there on your screen as well, Heller's really putting the pressure on Nanny. He wants to take over that 3rd spot and get back in the top 3. Heller's been running in the race lead for a good amount of the race, but he's been in the top 3 the whole race up until that spin moments ago. And now he's in the 4th spot, followed by Elliot Henderson right there in the 37. Heller's looking for space underneath Nanny, but he just can't quite find it. Doesn't have quite a good enough run that last time down the back stretch to make the move.
This is an interesting line I'm seeing coming out of Daniel Nanny. He's taking such an extremely wide entrance to the corner and making a sharp left to get down to the bottom on exit. it's helping him catch up, but I have reason to believe that's going to hurt his tire a lot over these runs.
Yeah, we've noticed it. We noticed it earlier with Nanny. He was just super fast in the beginning portion of the run, and then when you get to the last like 10 laps of the run, he really fell off hard. Just to put in perspective, that last run when Henderson was catching up to the race leaders a little bit, when they began to fall off, Nanny was around 3 or 4 tenths off of Henderson's pace when they began to fall off. So I'm interested to see how much Nanny can fall off, but that's why I think he's trying to make these passes early and get in front of Henry and Branski, because Henry and Branski are just so strong on the longer runs.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, those are the fastest driver in a long run. I thought I just heard somebody hit the wall. I might have missed who that was, but looked like Christopher Heller got extremely close to the wall. I'm not sure if he hit it or not, but man, you lost a little bit of time from that.
He was able to keep it off the wall, but he did get a little close, a little tight off the corner. Henderson was a little tight off the corner as well in the 37, but they both were able to keep it off of the wall. Still there in the 4th and 5th spot. Nick Martin not trailing too far behind in the 42 as well. But here you see it. We've seen it all race, just trying to break the draft on the straightaways. It's been kind of the keys to the race so far.
Yeah, definitely, especially if you're the leader. If you're kind of in that second position, you seem kind of safe from what I've seen. You could take a little bit different line of the leader, keep your clean air, keep the corner speed, and be able to get the exit speed while having draft. But if you're there on back, you really have to worry about guys getting big runs down the straightaway.
Drivers are trying to get these runs and make some passes. Here you see it. Henry's trying to get to Branski. Henry feels like he's a little faster right now. He's right there behind Jacob Branski with just over 15 laps to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Who can get the win here today? Branski leading the field. Henry right behind him. Daniel Nanny, after his incident earlier, has been able to recover to put himself in the 3rd spot. He has a huge run on the back straightaway here on Henry. Henry got a little tight off the corner, it looked like, and Nanny's right there now, putting a lot of pressure on Henry for the 2nd spot.
He could have definitely made the move there, but decided not to. He's actually going to get a great run out of turn 3. He's going to get to the inside of turn 4. This could put Henry at a detriment, but oh, Nanny gets tied on the bottom. 3 wide. Heller's going to push Nanny back to the outside. He's going to be looking for the spot. Elliot Henderson's actually going to help Nanny and help push him back around Heller, so he's going to put Heller stuck on the inside going into turn 1. But that could hurt Henderson more than it's going to hurt. Oh, man! Heller's so close to Nanny off turn 1. Almost an accident between Henderson and Heller. Wow. I'm losing my breath trying to talk about this.
Great save from Heller, but Heller's now going to fall back to the 6th position. It's going to be really difficult for him to get those spots back. You see Daniel Nanny is in that 3rd spot still. The top 3 are trying to separate themselves from the other 3 as we speak.
Yeah, the top 3, Nanny got really lucky with some of that. Heller got so close to his left side. He probably should have gotten wrecked coming out of turn 1, but he got extremely lucky there and manages to hold on to that 3rd position.
Daniel Nanny looking strong in that 3rd spot. He's trying to keep up with Henry and Branski. We have just 15 laps to go here in the not Indy 200 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway here in the Great Lakes Cup Series presented by ButtKicker. And Branski's putting on a great race right now. It's been a great race from him, Henry, and Heller. Those 3 have pretty much dominated the race so far. Heller has fallen back to the 6th spot after almost wrecking a few laps ago. But now these drivers are still all ganged up. Anybody still has a decent chance to win, especially with the almost incidents we've seen.
Yeah, I've been surprised. There's been a lot of near misses today, as I just saw Nick Martin almost getting into the wall in the back coming off turn 3. But yeah, they've been racing extremely close, and this is the closest this many cars have been all day to each other. The lap 1 craziness spread everybody out so much, but now that everybody's all tight together, this draft is keeping them nice and close, and it's making some crazy tight racing.
Definitely, for sure. And I'm a little worried about Heller. The last time by, he was around 2 tenths slower than the rest of these drivers, so he's beginning to fall back a little bit. I'm hoping he can keep up with Martin and stay in his draft, but he looks like he's barely hanging on to that draft back there coming down the back straightaway as these 3 drivers are still playing the draft game. It looks like Henderson wants nothing of it. He's going to stay all the way up against the wall.
Yeah, Henry got a really bad exit out of turn 1. Nanny got a big run, actually went to the outside almost into turn 2, just wasn't able to make it stick. And in reaction to that, Henry tried to block him down the back straight.
And that's why we've had almost a lot of these incidents. Oh, huge run, Nanny's almost wrecking it. Wow, well, great save from Nanny once again in the 45 coming off the corner. Look, I couldn't tell if he got into the wall or not, but he got completely sideways coming off the corner.
Yeah, Nanny nailed the wall, just slammed into it out of turn 4, and I can't believe he kept that car straight because that thing was weaving like crazy.
Here you see him come off the corner. Yeah, he does get into the wall pretty hard right in front of Henderson. A great reactions from Elliot Henderson, looking like a goalkeeper with those reactions. Jumps all the way to the inside, and he's going to move himself into third spot. And Henderson, he's put himself in the greatest position he's been in all day. Here you're going to see the onboard from Henderson. Just phenomenal reactions from Bobby Carter, able to jump into the inside and keep it away from the cone.
Definitely a fantastic move. That's tough to do something like that when you're trying to follow a guy coming out of the corner to get the best run you can down the straightaway. It's so hard to even be able to turn the car away. So that was a great move from Henderson to have the reactions to get out of the way of that. But now he slots into the third position. This is a really ideal spot for him. He does have that slight front end damage from wall contact earlier. So this draft being behind 2 cars is going to help him a lot.
Henderson's kind of known for stuff like this at this point in the Great Lakes Series. He's been running pretty calm for the most part, but just hanging out most of the day. But all of a sudden, he's right here he's in contention for this win at this point. He's right here closing in on Zachary Henry, who's dominated a good portion of the day. And these drivers are just a couple of tenths behind Jacob Branski in the Red Bull Toyota.
I feel like now's probably a good time to mention the points. We hadn't really mentioned it all day, but Elliot Henderson is our championship points leader at the moment, 9 points ahead of our current leader, Jacob Branski. So what was looking like a bad points day for Elliot versus his championship rival is going to turn out to be might not be as bad of a loss as you think. If not, it might be a gain if he has enough pace, because he looks like he's faster than Henry. He's likely going to get around him soon. It's just going to put the battle between these 2 championship leaders.
You're right. Coming into this race, we kind of had 4 championship contenders. Henderson, your points leader. Branski was 9 points out coming in. Nicholson was 21 points out coming in, and Heller was 27 points out coming in. Heller's had a great day. I don't know if he's going to end up leading the most laps in this thing. He's gotten a good amount of points here today. Nicholson will not get any points today because he's not here for the race. But then you have Branski and Henderson, and Branski's leading the field, and Henderson's right there in the third spot. This points lead could be cut down pretty short after this race if Branski's not the points leader.
Yeah, you mentioned if Heller got the most laps led. I have reason to believe Zachary Henry did, because he led right at the beginning of the race, led most of that second portion, and then had the caution laps led. So I believe he should have the most laps led on the day today. And that's going to definitely hurt, as Heller is right now down in the 6th position, a good over 2 seconds away from these leaders. So he's not having the day at the end of this race that he had earlier on, as the guys he was trying to run down the championship are now out front.
Like I said, these front 3 were trying to separate from the back 3, and they've done that, and by a good amount. The drivers up here are all running 54.6s that last time by, and everyone behind them ran over 55 seconds. So there's definitely a clear difference between the top 3 and everyone else right now, running around a half a second quicker than the rest of the field is Branski, Henry, and Henderson up here in the top 3.
All right, Kyle, it's going to be 9 laps to go, less than 10. We're at the single digits now here at Indianapolis. This is where the tires can start making a difference. It might take a little bit longer depending on how much these guys are saving or how much they pushed, but we're going to start to see a lot of a gap change, and I'm expecting with Branski's pace that he's had most of the day, he's going to start opening up the gap.
Just been looking when I was paying attention to the runs earlier. Henderson, out of all the drivers that have had the long run speed, he's probably the 4th quickest out of long run speed. You also have to keep in mind he's been back there away from these race leaders. He can smell the lead at this point. How hard is that 37 drive? Does he have more speed than Henry and Branski? Because history has proven that Elliot Henderson is usually extremely strong on the long runs.
Yeah, extremely strong in the long runs and extremely strong here at Indianapolis, which is why the day that he's had today has been surprising. I mean, I mentioned, you know, I can't get over the fact that he got into the wall because that's just not something you see out of Elliot. It's very uncharacteristic for him especially at this racetrack. And after that, his day has just not been what he's wanted it to. He's just not had the pace after that. And see here, he's just, yeah, he's tagging on to the back of this, but he's not really able to close the gap to Henry either, which shows that he's kind of lacking a little bit of straightaway speed.
Still got a few laps to go. We got 8 laps left. You have to, like someone like, especially like Henry, you have to wonder if he's saving a little something, because we saw at the end of that first run, he was just hanging out behind Heller by almost 2 or 3 tenths almost every lap. Then 2 laps before they made pit stops, all of a sudden Henry was right there at his bumper trying to make the pass.
Yeah, but at the same time, on the last run, Henry had a 1-second lead to Branski, and suddenly Branski not only closed it, but then proceeded to pass him in about 4 laps. So I'm not really sure who's going to have the advantage here at the end of this race, but as we're only on about 6.5 laps to go, the time's running out for Henry to try and close that gap.
Time is running out indeed for the number 39 Zachary Henry, who started on pole and has had a phenomenal day, looking to sweep the week here in the Great Lakes Series. That's something he's yet to do in his Great Lakes career, is sweep the week. And that's what he's looking to do here in that number 39 machine, trying to get to Jacob Branski. He's right there, only a couple tenths behind him right now, and you still have Henderson in this battle, only around a second behind Branski. He's beginning to fall back a little bit, though.
Yeah, I mean, as these leaders start to open up this gap a little bit, I do want to bring up an attaboy real quick of Nick Martin sitting there just in front of Daniel Nanny and Christopher Heller, running a pretty solid pace in front of these guys. As Nanny gets right into the wall, perfect time to jump to these guys. Nanny makes a mistake, gets into the wall. That's going to give the position to Christopher Heller on the inside. They're going to be side by side. But man, I mean, sorry, Nick Martin, I want to talk about you, but these two guys are just making a show of it right now.
And Nanny and Heller, who have both shown they have a lot of speed here today, but both have definitely had some issues here today, and they're battling right now to get a top 5 here in Indianapolis. That's the battle for 5th. Christopher Heller and Daniel Nanny. Heller is going to take the spot for now after Nanny got into the wall, but Nanny's still right there behind him, and Nick Martin's beginning to check out, trying to finish at least in the 4th spot as Nanny's in the wall again. Off turn 4, he's pushing that 45 just so hard.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. The line that he was taking, really aggressive on the front tires, and it's showing now as he's just having a really hard time turning off the corner and pushing up towards the wall. So he's getting really tight, and I believe he just killed those front tires doing that line.
And this is the closest battle right now on the racetrack. Branski versus Henry. Who's going to get the job done? Can we make it to the finish without another caution as well? Branski leading the field. Henry's right there, a little under half a second behind. Henderson is now almost 2 seconds back. He has fallen back dramatically, almost a full second slower than these guys that last time by, 7/10 slower than both Branski and Henry. He's fallen back quick in that 37. Here's the onboard.
Yeah, I was talking about this before. Elliot, you know, it looks like he might have been pushing it a little bit. He's got some damage. So I've made the same mistake as well. If you get damage, but you're still running the same pace, it's likely that you're just pushing a little bit too hard. And as we're seeing his pace fall off dramatically at the end of this run, it looks like he just pushed a little bit too hard, hoping to keep up while he still could. And now the damage is starting to really affect his long run pace.
Yeah, we have the battle for 5th just still continuing between Heller and Nanny. Heller, I don't know what happened to Heller that last time by, but Heller is extremely slow. He was around over 2 seconds slower than Branski, almost 5 seconds slower than his quickest lap time. So I don't know what happened to Heller that last time by. And Nanny's in the wall again. Oh, man.
Nanny, yeah, his tires are most definitely gone. He's really struggling right now and having a really, really hard time getting that car to come off the corner well.
And here you see Nanny. Nanny's been pushing it so hard every lap. He's trying to get that spot.
He wants it back. I mean, Heller's not had the greatest pace here in the longer runs as well. In this last run, he's made complaints about the dirty air from Nick Martin, but he's got a pretty big gap to Nick Martin, so I'm surprised it's affecting him as much as it is. But that's every time he makes a mistake going through the corner, that just allows Nanny to catch back up to him.
Jacob Branski approaching 2 laps to go. He's been able to put a little bit more of a gap between himself and Henry. Henry's around 6/10 back as they approach 2 laps to go. Here comes Jacob Branski in the number 23 Red Bull Toyota. And Zachary Henry not too far behind, trying to keep up with them, maybe try to make a late move here.
But Branski's just been so strong here at the end of these runs. I mean, before it was about 3 to 4 tenths. Now it's about a half second. Branski's very slowly pulling out the gap with 2 to go left in this race. I'm not sure if Henry has the pace here at the end to catch up to him. Branski's just been so strong.
He's going to have to hope that Branski makes a mistake. We've seen him on the coming out of some of these corners, getting close up to the wall and getting loose. So that's what Henry's going to need to hope for. If Henry can maybe get within 2 tenths, he can maybe make a run on Jacob Branski. Will we get to the white flag? It looks like we will. Jacob Branski comes off turn 4, and we're going to approach the white flag here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Can Jacob Branski take it home?
Jacob Branski looking strong. Still a half-second gap to Zachary Henry. Will Zachary Henry have anything left in the tank to run him down? The gap just seems a little bit too big. There's no threat from behind, but man, it seems so clean for Branski right now.
Branski looking to get win number 2 on the year. He came into this race second in points. 9 points behind Henderson. He only has a half a lap to go.
Jacob Branski heading down through turn 3. The gap opens up even more. It's about 6 tenths now as they're heading through the last 2 corners. Out of turn 4. He sees the checkered flag in sight. Just don't hit the wall and you've got it clear. Branski looks like he's going to win the not Indy at Indianapolis. That name is a mouthful.
And there is your winner, Jacob Branski, winning the not Indy, it's Indy 200 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There you see Nanny. He was pushing that car so hard those last few laps, just trying to get past Heller. They had a fantastic battle. But a great win from Jacob Branski. Win number 2 on the year. Get some congratulations from Henry and his team owner / teammate, Elliot Henderson, and his championship competitor right now. These two are going to be even closer in the points exiting Indianapolis heading into next week.
Man, Branski just had the car of the night. He got a little bit unlucky at the beginning of the race, losing all that time at the incidents between him and Elliot on lap 1, but he not only made up the time, but ended up getting himself into the lead before our first ever caution. So Branski just had a fantastic car all night.
Fantastic race from Branski and Henry. Henry was running in the top 2 or 3 pretty much the whole race long. Started on the pole, so you can't pass by him either. Another great run from Henry, who's been just having a phenomenal last couple weeks, last couple of months in the Great Lakes Cup Series and Truck Series. He continues on his great run. But Branski, he's going to bring the house down here at Indianapolis if we can find... There's his car. I hope we lost it again. Where's his car? Where is Branski? He's burning the house down in the front stretch, and we're missing it. Branski, the Red Bull machine. Congratulations to him. He gets the job done once again. His second win on the season, won a couple of weeks ago at Las Vegas. And he gets another victory here today. And we're going to get interviews from these drivers momentarily. Any last thoughts maybe before we go into some interviews here, Alex?
Man, this was an intense race at moments. I was amazed at how close these guys were able to stay with each other over such a long period of time. Actually, incredible stuff from these guys. They took a car that's tough to stay close in, and almost all of them managed to stay close for most of this race. It was a fantastic run for all these guys, and especially Branski, our winner.
Yeah, great job from Branski. Going to go very quickly through the results since it was a small field. We'll only have the one slide of results here for you today. So Jacob Branski, of course, is your race winner in the Red Bull Toyota. You got Zachary Henry, who started on pole and had a phenomenal day, coming home second. Henderson was able to come back for a solid 3rd place finish Nick Martin was able to keep his car clean for the most part all day and came home fourth. Christopher Heller, after his late issues, comes home in the fifth spot. Nanny pushed that car hard all day long, came home sixth. McClellan was able to keep on going with the seventh place finish. And then Madalinas and Aiken exiting the race early in 8th and 9th. And those are your final results. And just avoid Alex's name at the bottom. He's not there.
I'm just making sure you all know who I am, that is all. But as Branski is done with his burnouts, we're going to talk to him right now. Hello, Jacob Branski, our race winner. You had quite an eventful night from the beginning and sat for a long time, just very, very slowly running drivers down. But when you did, you got around them, you took the lead, and you won the race. So congratulations. Tell us about how your night went.
Yeah, it was just a good race overall. At the beginning, me and Elliot got into each other. That kind of really messed up things, and I think it might have been my fault. Not too sure. I told him I'm sorry. Definitely did not want to do that to a teammate. But we just kind of rode around and was able to catch up to them later on. And then something happened to Heller, and then it was just me and Zach, and yeah.
Yeah, you had some phenomenal long run pace. I would say you probably had the best long run pace of anybody in the field. No matter where you were in the field, lead, second, third, as far back as you could want. And you had some fantastic long run pace. So how do you do it around here?
Yeah, for here, it's really easy to just drive it in too hard because you're going faster because it's a very long straightaway. So you just kind of try and brake earlier and just be smooth with it. And yeah.
All right, well, that Red Bull car was definitely flying tonight. You found its wings somewhere, but I mean, you surely didn't get that Red Bull by yourself. Who do you have to thank for the win tonight?
Yeah, shout out to the league owners and my team split second. And then shout out to you guys for putting on a great show for us tonight.
All right. Well, thank you, Jacob Branski. Congratulations. You had a great race tonight, and congrats on the win.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen. That was Jacob Branski. We're going to be trying to drag in our second place finisher for tonight. We're going to be pulling in Zachary Henry. You just were that close. You had such a great race, but just right at the end, it just wasn't enough to catch Branski. Was there something else you could have done out there to get it?
I think Branski was just the better driver today. I guess something happened to him and Elliot on lap one or whatnot and kind of set him back. But yeah, I got my hopes up there until he came out of nowhere midway through the race. It is what it is, though.
You, I would say, probably other than Branski, you definitely had at least the second best long run pace of the night. I mean, you seemed to figure it out on those longer runs, and with that longer run pace, you managed to find your way to the lead during the first pit stop cycle, where everybody except for you missed the pit box, and you gained the lead from it. And then you managed to get lucky with a gamble strategy and get the lead again by pitting right as a caution comes out. So, I mean, what's going through your head as you're just constantly having to find the lead last second?
Yeah, the pit road was really working for me today, wasn't it? I don't know, really not much. That I guess the only caution of the race. Um, that worked out really well for me, obviously. And then coming to the restart when everybody was bunched up again. I don't have the best short run speed, which is funny enough because I qualify real well. But I typically don't have the best short run speed because I'm always trying to save a little bit of tire. So I was actually worried that what Branski did to me was going to happen, and unfortunately, that's what happened. I couldn't quite hold him off for that, but I mean, it was kind of nice. I guess pit road worked out for me for once.
Well, you can't say it was all on pit road. You definitely had some great on-track pace. And the one thing that was notable out of you that I saw the entire night, you were probably one of, if not the best driver at in the dirty air, keeping up lap time and managing to be good on the longer runs. So how do you deal with the dirty air and keep the car under you?
I'm not real sure. I was after that first pit cycle and I got out front. I was expecting to be a lot better than what I was, and I was probably the only person out there who felt better or whose car felt better in dirty air. Now I couldn't get up to anybody and make a pass, but my car drove a whole lot better in dirty air than it did in clean air, and I think I may have just been overdriving it when I was out front. But um, I actually learned kind of so Elliot Henderson, Jake Miller, and Shane Niswan were kind of indirectly taught me how to run this track in the truck race here a few weeks ago. My long run pace wasn't anywhere near as good, and I kind of watched what they were doing and kind of implemented that here today, and it worked out really well. I do feel like I had probably the best car in dirty air um, over the course of a long run, though. Just couldn't make it work.
Well, you definitely showed off today. You led the most laps and you had a great race, but you don't complete these things on your own. So who do you have to thank for the second place tonight?
So just like the truck race the other night, I gotta thank my wife for taking over baby watch again. A rare case where I'm gonna be able to run both races in 1 week, but she's a real champ for doing this for me. Undercurrents again for riding on the hood of the car. Um, Once again, go check those guys out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you listen to your music. And then as always, the broadcast team, y'all do a great job, and I look forward to going and rewatching the race.
All right. Well, thank you, Zachary Henry. Congratulations on the finish, and we'll hope to see you next time.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing, I want to congratulate Jacob Branski. He had a really good pass in that final run. Um, he just I thought I was low enough on the track, and he just stuck his nose just under me, and that's kind of what made it happen for him. But really, really, really good race by Jacob Branski there.
Well, thank you, Zachary Henry. That is sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming in to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, and finally, our third place finisher for tonight. A little bit of a comeback story with Elliot Henderson. Get him in just a second. But man, Elliot Henderson had quite an eventful night tonight. His night was definitely one for the ages. Elliot Henderson, lap one, you almost got into a wreck, lost a bunch of time. Then you get into the wall, and then by God, and then to get even worse, you're going through pit stops. A caution comes out, and you get a black flag, and then on the caution, on the restarts, you battle your way so hard through the field and manage to find yourself in the third position. What is going through your head today? Because you had such an eventful night.
I think it's been like that the last 2 weeks now too. I don't know. Small field counts have helped me in that aspect. I think we're going to be able to hold on to the points lead, but that was probably one of the more frustrating races. I thought for a second that I was on like a 10-1 box or something, but I mean, there's something really bizarre with what was going on because it showed that I had 22 seconds of damage that I had to repair, but I wasn't. The car was visibly okay, so I have no idea if I was off pace during the first run because of damage or because I thought I was on a 10 box driving it wrong when I was on a 14. Like I don't know, but basically, yeah, I mean, I hit pit road the first time, double checked that I was on a 14 box, got back after it, and luckily Heller was nice enough to give me a caution to catch me back up. But I had a decision to make there. I could have not pitted, but I had a half a lap of fuel left, and I mean, yeah, I could have coasted. I don't know, but with 8, 9 cars left in the field, I figured, I mean, I'll just stay out, and then if I could just get back up to a podium spot, it'll be okay. Because I think as long as we can chuck out top threes and beat Branski at a couple of these races, we'll be all right. But I don't know, man. I'd like for one of these to just go smoothly. I don't think that that's happened the last few weeks. I mean, between Iowa, Vegas, and Chicago, like, yeah, we won Chicago, but it's been less than a struggle, that's for sure. So, you know, we get to go to Charlotte. I'm frustrated because these last 3 tracks are like some of my favorite tracks that I'm really good at between Chicago, Indy, and Charlotte. Like I genuinely felt like I could start to open up the points lead here and not have to worry about Branski as much. But you know, like I said, he's a true talent, and we're gonna have to deal with that all season. So we'll go to Charlotte and try to get it back on the right track.
All right. Well, I mean, you answered a couple of the questions I was planning to ask today. I was going to ask about the damage. You said you weren't really sure. From our perspective, you seem to have a little bit of right front crumbling. So I'd say that might have possibly been affecting you. But The one thing I am interested in asking about is you did talk about the points battle. Now, going into Legacy Charlotte, how do you fare your chances? Because now that Branski has closed the gap, if not jumped you in the point standings, how are you going to have to deal with him going into the next race?
I don't know. I could lean back on and say that we dominated here last season. I think we led like 100 laps out of 125 or whatever it was. But I mean, we've literally not lost an Indy race that we've been in, and tonight did not go that way. So I don't really know what I have to do. It seems like we can go out and win truck championships with virtually no problem, and then we get to the Cup Series, and there's just something that starts to go awry, and it just all unfolds. So I think the biggest thing is just keep focused, man. Not get too frustrated by all this stuff, and realize that we've probably still got the points lead, albeit probably a really small gap. But it'll just be a one-on-one real big fight, and I think the biggest benefit would be if one of these other guys picks up some slack and starts winning races. I mean, I need guys to win races so that Branski's not closing 5 points or something like that. If I'm not doing it, Branski sure as hell can't be doing it. So I need other guys to win races and for us to finish second and third, respectively, or fourth and fifth, or wherever that might be, and limit these points losses. But it'll be a dogfight for sure. 5 races left, and a lot of them kind of sway either way. I feel like Branski's going to have a really good shot at Road America and Worldwide Technology, and it'll just be heads up between Charlotte and Atlanta. And I think I may have an edge on Martinsville, but like I said, Branski's an insanely fast driver. So again, probably more of a heads up race than a sway one way or the other.
Well, you had the comeback story of the night. I think, in my opinion, you went from middle to the back to the front again and came away with a third place finish. But I'm sure with as much experience as you've had on racing here in the sim, I'm sure you know that your partners are important. So who do you have to thank for it tonight?
We have EHG design on the car this week, Fanatec and NZXT on the car most of the other weeks. We get some throwback and Halloween races coming up, so you'll see some different designs. We run EHG again next week and NZXT on the Halloween race at Martinsville. Then everybody back at the team. I mean, Branski, obviously awesome teammate, great guy to drive with, and Ty Aiken and Tyler McClellan and all the guys that show up to this on a weekly basis. I know the field counts have been kind of off, but definitely appreciate my teammates showing up and putting in some effort and having some fun out there. You guys for running this broadcast despite kind of the lackluster effect that this series has had recently. We're gonna work on trying to turn that around. I got to talk to Heller this week and see if we can get some people over. But you guys always do a great job, even with the small field counts. I'm sure there's plenty to pay attention to and have fun with. So always appreciate going back and watching. And then Heller, Sam Hoff, Brandon Markowski, Eric Kepf, everybody that puts in an effort to make sure that this league keeps going the way that it is, and we get decent car counts and decent competition out of it. So a lot to look forward to between the series that we're announcing coming up and what's happening next season. But right now, just appreciate everybody putting in the effort to make sure that this keeps going on a weekly basis, because it's a super fun series to be involved in. I just think that we kind of need to get people around this car, but man, I don't know. The Cup package just isn't a lot of fun, and I think tonight kind of proved that from the driver's seat. Definitely, Dirty Air was a killer here, and I think maybe a car switch or something is probably worth it, because I think that might be a huge factor as to why no one wants to show up and race this car. When everybody just literally complains about it, it's hard to say, hey, you should come run it. So, yeah, we'll see going forward though.
All right. Well, congratulations, Elliot Henderson. Had the comeback race of the night, came away with a third place finish. So congratulations to that, and thank you for coming in to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, that will be our interviews for tonight. Everybody had quite the story coming on tonight. Way crazy of a race than I expected. Kyle, we got some races coming up in the future. Mentioned before, Legacy Charlotte's coming up next week. But is there anything else you want to say before we get going?
Yeah, Henderson was talking about how him and Branski have been dominating pretty much. If Henderson's not winning, Branski's winning. Just to put that in perspective, the last 5 races, 4 out of those 5 races were either won by Henderson or Branski, 2 by Branski and 2 from Henderson. And that other race is from their teammate, Ty Aiken at Iowa. The split second is definitely putting on a show this year so far as we enter the final stretch till the end of the season. We got Charlotte next week, as was mentioned. Then we got the Halloween race at Martinsville. Then we go to Road America. Then we go to Gateway, aka Worldwide Technology Raceway. And then we end out the season, of course, at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So these next couple weeks should be a lot of fun. I would like to thank all of you guys for tuning in to today's broadcast on Flatout Racing Network for the Great Lakes Cup Series. Like I mentioned, next week we will be at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the legacy version for the Great Lakes Cup Series. Then in the Truck Series, we will continue the playoffs as we enter round 2, aka the round of 8, and that should be a lot of fun. I'd like to once again thank all of you for tuning in, and congratulations to our winner tonight, Jacob Branski, who got the job done once again, his second win in 3 races. We will see you either Tuesday or Thursday for Great Lakes action here on the Flatout Racing Network. Have a good night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.